of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
To you and our audiences, please continue with us as we talk with Lord Holy Apostle Dean, my brother Adam Hanif Salim, and Holy Queen Mother Rabia Salim, who's off camera. Man, just peace and all the blessings.
Yeah, man, just peace
about
and
your
blessings.
presence again. We were talking about the serpent still being in the garden.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're in the garden, and the garden's gone wild. You know? And the Lord promised us a new people. It even prophesied as far back as, 500 years ago, after Muhammad, with Nostradamus. People think that men are prophets. Men are not prophets. The invisible supreme mind, the unseen supreme mind, the knower of all things, El-Ra, Amin-Ra, the all-seeing one, the all-knowing one, is the one who prophesies through its messengers. See, we only tools. The only message I could give is the one that it gives through me. That's the only true, divine, holy message that I could give, is what it gives through me. Anything else is not of it. So by me being holy, by it making me whole of itself, or complete of itself, or perfect of itself, and being its messenger, it has raised me up high, divine, in its circle with the angel Gabriel. And it and Gabriel speaks through me. You see, I don't make up the messages. It gives the messages. So it's the prophets. It's the one who prophesied through Moses. It's the one who prophesied through Muhammad. It's the one who prophesied through Jesus. They never prophesied anything. They were men, measly men, who knew nothing, just like us, except what they were told. And think about this here. Knowing is experiencing. So they didn't know the prophecy. They just knew the words of the prophecy, because the prophecy did not come until after. Unless it was a prophecy for a few days to come in their lifetime. The Lord El itself is the one that prophesizes, and then it make what it says to be. But people, the devil, want to give credit to the prophets. The devil wants you to forget about El and think about its servants. The devil wants you to raise Jesus and forget about the Father. All you need is Jesus. Jesus is going to inherit the heavens. Jesus is gone. Muhammad is gone. In their flesh, in their minds, they still exist. They're in the heavens now, in existence, in true existence. A truer existence than when they were here. But El, the of all things, being at all places, at all times, in all conditions, untouched by anything, is ever here, is ever everywhere, doing what it does, making life be. I remember, I thought about some things, and people was talking to me, and they're saying, yeah, you a slave, you call yourself a slave of Allah, and you want to serve, and this, that, and the other. I said, you know what? A.H.A.D is the master and the slave. It is the greatest master and the greatest slave, because it is the only real thing. It serves everything. It's the greatest servant. It serves everything, because if you're not served by it, you will not be. It must serve every atom of your being. It must serve every breath of your being. It must serve every thought of your mind. It must serve every aspect of your being in order for you to exist. Anything without it does not exist. But see, people will fight and say, they're in the sky, man. You hear this? Prove it. I can't prove it to you unless you come with me. Now, how much do you want to come unto the Christ? To become annihilated, to learn this divine knowledge. See, people talk stuff, but how many people are ready for the crusher? Jesus said he was of the Christ. He didn't say he was Jesus Christ. Huh? He called Christ the Father because A.H.A.D, Allah, which is the same as Allah in Arabic, to Muhammad, commanded him to call him Father, just like it commanded me to call it Father. But see, that thing about Father goes way beyond what we understand. It didn't beget me. It didn't beget anything. It creates by its imagination. Its imagination is our reality. Our imagination is just frivolous dreams and illusions. We only imitate it.
Image.
Imitating it.
Yeah.
It created man in its image. And man think that is the cream of the crop because now they think that it in its highest form has the figure of a man. When the Lord of the throne was created by El to appear in the form of a man. Just like some angels were created to appear, to only appear in the forms of man. But it is beyond all forms. And its image is not so much of its own person as it is of its ownership. Like, it's my car. I put it in my car. I put it in my image. The image belongs to it. Life itself and everything about life was created in its image. What it imagined or what it imaged. It's the greatest artist. And it's so powerful. You look up into the sky and see the art it put up into the sky. And it moves that art around continuously, recreating beautiful pictures continuously at all times. What artist can do that among man? You think Jesus could do that?
You talk about, Lord, our frivolous imagination, our imaginations, which is the frivolous dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be at the fall of us not really appreciating the truth, the unstoppable, the unending authority of A.H.A.D when we compartmentalize it, when we break it down to the level of our imaginations, to the point that certain sector might call A.H.A.D by a name, a certain name from Allah to Yahweh, to Jehovah, to Brahma, to however, and then they'll say that's it and it alone.
Some of those names is made up by man. Some of those names are not recognized by El, but accepted, as a mercy from El, like Yahweh, Jehovah, phrases that was accepted, or letters that was put together, that were accepted, like the Tetragrammaton, but I remember when I became enlightened, the Lord made me a Sufi, a mystic, one growing in mysticism, in spirituality, insight, seeing into the unseen realms and dealing with the unseen beings and having a greater understanding of life. And I was reading some things that I fancied. And I remember one of the Sufis of old had said that Sufis are the family of the prophets. And I looked at that and I said, yes, I relate to Allah, Allah relates to me. Yes, I see that of the family of prophets. And then Allah was telling me, yes, you are the family of the prophets. And you were created as such, and so forth and so on. And I went on like that for 13 years until the 14th year when of my enlightenment, when it announced my new birth into being a prophet, which is the date is tomorrow, I believe it is. The date is the 19th, December 19th, tomorrow, December 20th. And, oh no, December 21st, excuse me.
December 21st.
Yeah. And this was 17 years ago. But when it enlightened me as a prophet, I felt so ashamed forever associating the mental awareness of the Sufis with the prophets. Because even as a true Sufi, not one who just acting, one who dancing and in circles and spiraling as a practitioner, because people think those are real Sufis. Just like they look at people who call themselves Christians and believing Muslims as real, true believers, real, true people, they're practitioners. And, but the advancement was so great that shame came on me. And I thought about something that had been said to me years earlier by an angel, said, between man, and I had read this in the book as well, and they confirmed, it said, 7 represents many in the spiritual language. Said between man there's and the angels there's 700 levels, or 70 levels or 700 levels, something like that. It said between the angels and A.H.A.D, Allah, is 700,000 levels, and they only put a number on it to show the vastness of the differences, because that's not a fact, that's just a similitude, or symbolizing of the great vastness. And that's what I experienced when I became, enlightened or taken in as the prophet, the chosen one. When the Lord opened up my realization to those things, man, it was like, whew, it's unimaginable, And then when you think about the Lord being alone, and most people say, well, they realize that the Lord is alone, that's nothing big. No, you don't realize it. To realize a thing is to live that thing. And I remember when the Lord made me realize it, it was different from me reading it and believing that I understood it as Allah being alone. If Allah ever put you in a mental state of being alone anywhere similar, I'm talking about just similar to what it is as being the all one, the alone. Because that's what alone is, all one. Alone. Okay? It's terrifying. It is terrifying. And it made me think about Siddhartha Gautama when, it was Krishna. When he seen the 1,000-faced being and freaked out. Was that Krishna? Yes. And he Arjuna, yeah. Shown by Krishna, right. And he freaked out, and I thought about that. And I compared that to something else that the Lord showed me. Because the Lord caused me to like nature and things that I considered as beautiful, And it showed me a sight of beauty that I cannot speak, that I could not draw, that I cannot, it was just so unimaginable that right there I died. And if it hadn't, I dispersed. And if it hadn't collected up my being, my mind in the spirit realm, I would have never came back to my flesh body from the beauty of what I saw of it. You know? So I sympathize with Arjuna when he seen that 1,000-faced being which represented the attributes of El. Where the Muslims say that there are 100 attributes, I never heard of Muhammad saying 100 attributes of Allah, because right in the Holy Quran itself, you find more attributes of Allah than 100. But it symbolized the infinite number of attributes of Allah, because the attribute means something that is attributed to something. And what the Lord El attributes to life is everything. Now, how can you count that? So how many attributes do it have? It's uncountable. You know, it's uncountable. And it has made me privileged to much of this information, much of this living realization, to give me confidence and as a mercy in this life when I come to talk to humanity. Because I'm different from you all. And I realize that I'm different. But I try to act as though we all the same. But what I see and know and relate in the realm of my Lord and this divine threefold union is different from what you realize. And I've had to learn mercy and patience and compassion and so many things all over again to be right to deal with people who have come to support me, claim to be with me, to walk with me. Because, you know, like I told a brother, I've told many people, you can't follow me. People say, I want to follow you. You can't follow me. You can go up into the Christ and you can become enlightened if the Lord brings you there. If you make yourself suitable to be taken up, because you don't want to be taken up anywhere if you're not right, because the Christ will kill you. Truly, the Christ will kill you if you're not right. You know? But it's different. You know? But I am used to relate the message of the day to the people. You know? And as you know, I've been kind of like on a vacation for about 2-3 months now, I think, you know? And not so much staying away from, you know, serving my Lord, but staying away from the TV set, from the camera, so to speak, you know? And I want to thank you brothers, too, for being so persistent and keep coming back, because I know I told Holy Queen Mother, I got to do something today, because they done came here about 4 or 5 times, and I done said, okay, turn them away. And last week I heard you guys were sitting out the house for about an hour, and got a phone call from me. Tell them tomorrow, another day. So I want to thank you for being persistent and coming, you know, because
persistent in us allowing to be in proximity to this work. Yes.
Yeah, this work is beautiful, man. You know, I'm tired, but I can't give up. You know, there's so many things that I have to do, and the thing about it is, some people make the mistake to think that what I do is easy. That's why from time to time, I've had opponents who would come and try to take over what I'm doing. You know, now it is so comical to me, because if you take over what I'm doing, let's say somebody come and slay me and take the seat, stick you up all up here in front of the camera, who's going to talk through them? Nothing but the devil.
I didn't want to say it, you know.
Hey, that's where it's at, you know, because you can't take this. We all in life have something to do, a job to do. We all here for something. Some people are born to die in days, in hours, in weeks, in months, in a few years. And some are born to die in 100 years or more. And we all have different duties to perform. My duty being the chosen one, the prophet of El, in this day and time, as promised over 5,000 and 10,000 years ago, long before Jesus and Muhammad's time. It's here now. You know? And all that I've seen in my youth, coming up, what I visualize, it's here now. You know? And I look out at people who have been my opponents, and I see my Lord taking them down in degrees, and it said, I told you I would do this. Because they're not going to stand against me and survive. They're not going to be saved when I take them into the next life. See, we got appointments with the Lord El in the next life. And that's what people lose sight of. The invisible mind is waiting for you to show you a symbol of itself, which it calls the Lord of the throne, which it speaks through and acts through in the presence of the angels and the prophets, where you will have to go and stand before it and be set on the scales of judgment to learn whether or not you're going to paradise or hell. You know? And see, the devil, Satan, knows that there's three places. You know the Lord works in threes. But he always talk about heaven and hell and never talk about the paradise. Huh? The mathematical, all-seeing place of being. Huh? Which is paradise. Ra and Pi. Huh? They know that that is the greatest heaven, the innumerable heavens, the infinite heaven, the eternal heaven, beyond heaven. Heaven is a center place. But there's something beyond that and something beneath that. Above and beyond, above and beneath. For our minds to go and live. Because see, we live in our minds. People fail to realize that. The mind is the most powerful thing, and we live in it. That's where our existence is. And in that image of the Lord, that's what we created.
A thought occurred, the description of the devil and its craftiness, far more than our imagined craftiness.
Yeah, you got to remember, people forget that Satan is an angel. They say, the devil. No, that's an angel. It's an angel with the power of an angel. Its number is the number of man 3 times because the number of the angel is 3. You understand? And it maintained its number of 3, but it was put beneath the foot of the holy man. Every man who become enlightened, meaning totally submissive to the Lord El, and they give up their soul to El, and they be taken, and they have no more responsibility, no more means for people to judge them in this life, because they solely belong to Allah and in His hands. The devil is beneath our feet. Now, Allah said in the name of Allah that it will put the devil beneath our feet. You see? So Satan knows that it can't touch the holy man because the protection of the holy man is with El over its angels. That actually put Satan out of heaven.
Why is it that, like, in the media or whatever, and culture, they display the devil as being like a monster and red and all of that? Like, what's that about? Like, could you explain to us before in a previous conversation?
Well, red and purple is somewhat the same color. It represents blood and war, and and they always have them in dark places. It represents the darkness that it hides in, the gloominess. It's in wet places, and things like that, all the negative things that will give you the negative feeling. Just like Allah said, you're going to burn in the fire if you're evil, and the day of judgment is going to take you and put you in the hellfire, and what have you. If it wants to put you in the mental hellfire, it will put you there. But that is basically an expression, because the worst thing man imagines happening to himself is getting burned alive. Think about it. Which way would you rather die? Would you rather be dropped into a fire in the forest, or would you rather be in a plane that's going to crash down into the ocean? Huh? Because you think that if you go in that ocean, you might have a chance to live, right? Even though you'll hit that water like it's bricks, cement. But, when you think about it, you don't want to have nothing to do with fire, because, see, we know that you can stand back from fire and get the skin burnt off you. You get caught up right in fire, you might die before the fire even touch you from suffocation. For the atmosphere being burned, displaced. Fire is a bad thing. We learned as a kid. Fire hurt, but water didn't. Unless somebody dropped you in a pool and you didn't know how to swim. But me, I don't take nothing for granted. For some reason, I have an adoration towards fire more than I do water. Why, I don't know. Maybe because I'm a fiery person. Really got a heart of war. I war against my own self.
Because in a previous conversation, you explained to us, the devil, when it comes to you to try to, to persuade you, it comes to you in beautiful form.
Oh, yeah.
Speaks to you softly. You think that they give you the image of the evil so you don't see it coming. That they, they portray it as being this monster.
You got to remember that part of what is being done on earth in theater. Theater is one of the greatest tools of the devil today. Television, greatest enemy. They let you put it in your house. They invite you to put it in your house. You ain't even got to come out and find us. We gonna come to you in your house where you are most relaxed. There's no place in the world that you're more relaxed than in your own home. You sit down and get naked in front of your TV when you won't get naked in front of a crowd of people at the theater to watch the same show. And then they infiltrate your being, your mind, your heart. Throw all these suggestions up at you. And they make the devil appear to be something that's vicious and you need to run from it and so forth and so on, while the devil comes to you so sweetly and softly, like a beautiful woman or a beautiful man. Soft, sweet, whispering, and on the form of politicians. Once upon a time, it was cool to be thinking of being Robin Hood, but as you get older, you can't really be Robin Hood, because if you mess with the Pope or the politicians, they're gonna take you off. Forest ain't big enough for you to hide, because they own the forest now. They all up in the trees. So it's like you got to be careful of what they present to you, and then you accept inside yourself as this is it, because that's not it. And I used to wonder why he's always had me looking at the vampire pictures and things of that nature, and turn away from those, the church pictures and stuff. I said, in the church pictures, they tell you lies. But in them vampire pictures, them dog pictures, they tell you the truth. And I said, wow, look at this. They telling the truth. And I remember, I'm going to say this real quick, I remember I looked at the vampire picture, and then, the cross always killed the vampire, burn them up, right? And I looked at one not long ago, and the guy had the cross coming up to the vampire laughed, grabbed the cross, and said, you got to have faith for that to work. And our time is up.
Who of you want to do things right? to keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed?